I greet you, ladies and gentlemen, even at this time, as I deliver this lecture on preliminary pages that are associated with the research project or that are part of a research project document. Without much wasting of time, I'm going to present a specimen research project, which is going to assist us in understanding the subject of preliminary pages that are associated with the research project in terms of layout related issues. So as you can see on my screen, the first part of the preliminary pages is the cover page, which obviously was not supposed to be numbered, but this particular candidate decided to number this preliminary page, this cover page. Ideally, it's not supposed to be numbered. Only the second page after the cover page, which is supposed to be numbered. So if you look at the project release form, is the one which is supposed to be numbered page 1 in Roman numerals. It is numbered page 1 in Roman numerals, the research project release form, which is supposed to be signed by the supervisor. In this case, it would be me, or it would be myself, writing my name, Dr. Ian Nzov, and then appending my signature and also the date at which the project was actually released. Was actually submitted. And then the next part is page 2, is the clearance form, which accompanies the project release form. The clearance form indicates the different components of the research project as to when they were done. The student signature is already written there by way of the first name initial and the surname of the student, and then I append my electronic signature there, and then I write whatever comments I write to actually clear the project. Again, as you can see, the supervisor's name is also captured there. It is captured just after supervisor's name in full, Dr. Ian himself. And then the student's name, Anita Libombo, is captured in full together with the student number. And then after this form has been completed or filled in, is then scanned by the student, where a photo of it is taken by the student to be page 2 in Roman numerals of the preliminary pages, and then page 3, the continuation of that document. And then page 4 is the dedication. In this case, this student dedicated the research project to her family. So you dedicate to whoever you want to dedicate the research project. And then after the dedication, we go to the table of contents, where all the subtopics are actually captured, all the subtopics of the research project, including the minor subtopics, as you can see, escalate from the major topic like the chapter title or the chapter heading. And then we move on to the main sections of a chapter like 1.0, 1.1, 1.2. And then we move on to the subsections, which are like 1.3.1, 1.3.2, and so on. We follow the same procedure up to chapter 2. And then once you are done with your contents page, or your table of contents, you move on to acknowledgement. In this case, you see this student acknowledge the Almighty, and also acknowledge myself or me for the supervision that I provided during the research project, and many other stakeholders that were involved in the production of this project by way of moral, technical, and other forms of support. And then after the acknowledgement, to move on to a brief abstract. Ideally, when the abstract is written properly, single line spaced, it will be 3/4 of a page to a page, not this brief. And the abstract must capture the brief background to the study, the summary of the statement of the problem, the main research objectives, the research hypothesis, research methodology, the key findings, the key conclusions, the policy recommendations and suggestions for further study. If all of those areas that I've just mentioned are captured properly and adequate in a research project, you will realize that in an abstract, I mean to say, you realize that your abstract will be 3/4 of a page to a full page in terms of length. And then the next part, in this case, which was page 11, Roman numerals, the list of abbreviations spelled wrongly there of and acronyms that the student used. And then we move on to the list of tables. The list of tables acts as a surrogate table of contents, but this time around specifically for tabular presentation of data. In a case, the tables, they start appearing in chapter 3, which is why we've got table 3.1 and table 3.2. And then almost all of the tables are in chapter 4, which is why we've got table 4.1, table 4.2, up to table 4.7. And then we go to the list of figures. Some, if not all of the students, they actually draw a lot of figures, or they use softwares that enable them to produce a lot of figures to illustrate things like trends and a host of other graphs, which are produced by the softwares to illustrate certain aspects of data analysis. So some of these figures might be selected in order to be used in the data analysis chapter, which is why we see that there is a prevalence of figures in chapter 4 there. And then there is the list of appendices, which is part of the preliminary pages, which is existing there as page 14 in Roman numeral. And then after that, we move on to page 1, which is the introductory chapter, which is the first part of the research project, proper numbered in the normal numerals 1, 2, 3 in the decimal system. So we have covered the bit on preliminary pages. So the other part that I want to cover is the part on references, appendices, and all of that stuff. I just want to show by way of this specimen research project what is entailed in coming up with the final pages of a research project, the final pages of a research project. After the student has summarized everything, in chapter 5, what is also included in the research project, because it's very imperative to capture all the cited texts under, an exhaustive list of references. The list of references must be exhaustive. It must include all the research material which has been cited by the student from page 1 or from chapter 1 up to chapter 5. So my assumption is that this particular student captured everything which they cited. Then after the list of references has been correctly captured using the Harvard augmented reference system, the student moves on to appendices. In this case, the first appendix is the letter of introduction to potential respondents at the PEPS, the Central African Building Society, the Central Africa Building Society, which shows that she's been authorized by NAST, or the Department of Banking, uh, uh, representing NAST, to carry out a research. And then the appendix 1 continues the questionnaire proper, which there is a list of questions. And then there is the interview schedule, which appears on page 65. Some they number it as appendix 2, others they don't. But the best thing is to number it as appendix 2, because the interview schedule is different from the questionnaire. It actually facilitates the carrying out of interviews, which is an alternative or a complementary method to the use of questionnaire. And then Appendix 3, annual average annual figures of transactions related to capital adequacy, return on assets, and average size of bank assets. This information is from different secondary data sources, which presumably were acknowledged in the relevant chapter. So that's the end of the appendices of this student. So this brief lecture, it helped us to understand what is included under preliminary pages. I just want to recap the main sections that make up the preliminary pages. The first part, the preliminary pages, is the cover page, what is called the cover page of the research project. I just want to point out certain salient features that are associated with the cover page of a research project to assist us in understanding the sort of details that ought to be captured when one is coming up with an informative cover page. The first thing with the cover page is that it must capture the name of the university and the motto of the university and the logo, any one of the logos that are used in the official documentation of the university, and also the faculty that we are under, the Faculty of Commerce, and the department, which is the Department of Banking. And then the research topic must be captured next, followed by the name of the student number, and the name of the supervisor. And this statement that this research project is being submitted in partial fulfillment of the Bachelor of Commerce honors degree in banking and investment management, and also the month and the year. And then it's not supposed to be numbered. That's the first part. And then the project release form follows, filled in by the supervisor and signed by the supervisor underneath with the date. And then the project clearance form is filled in also by the lecturer or the supervisor and signed as a way of clearing the research project for submission. And then next is the dedication. Next is the table of contents. Next is the acknowledgement of the various people who assisted in the production of the project, starting with the creator himself and also the supervisor of the research project. And then next is the abstract. And then next is the list of abbreviation and acronyms. Next is the list of tables, the list of figures, columns, the list of appendices followed by the introductory chapter, which is chapter 1. So this is the brief lecture that I thought of, giving in order to present to you the preliminary pages of a research project. I hope you benefited from this lecture. I will meet you next time. I will meet you next time when I am delivering another lecture. Thank you so much for joining in. I hope you benefited from this Zoom lecture, which I will post on YouTube as a YouTube video after the conversion process. Thank you so much.